Hello and welcome to SWS, and this is the Macbeth course. So before we start teaching every line, every word, every theme, and talk about every character of Macbeth, let me tell you the story of Macbeth. I used to have it in when I did my graduation in English literature, and I had made such copious and detailed notes. I gave it all to a junior of mine. I wish I had not. If I knew that this day would come, I would have kept those notes. Very exhaustive notes, handwritten notes. Anyway, so Macbeth it is. Act 1 and Act 2 is in for class 9. Act 3, 4 and 5 will be for class 10. Okay, so this video is essentially to tell you the basic story of Macbeth, which always helps because Shakespearean language is not very easy to understand. But Macbeth definitely is one of the most intense plays written by William Shakespeare. According to me, I mean, it's one of my favorite plays because of the very layered characterization of its principal characters, right? This is one of the actors who played Macbeth. So even with the pose of Macbeth, the facial expression and the body language of Macbeth, you can understand the kind of pain and agony that this lead character goes through in this particular play. That way, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, two extremely fascinating characters written by this man. Okay, before we start, I want to show you a couple of covers of Macbeth, and that will give you an idea about the kind of play Macbeth essentially is. You see, Macbeth, William Shakespeare, this indicates crown, this indicates kingship, this indicates kingdom, this indicates political power, the crown. But then it is over a skull, it is over someone who is dead, right? In this, King Duncan is murdered by Macbeth, right? So in that sense, you immediately, the moment you see the cover of Macbeth like this, you immediately get an idea that this is not just about a king. This is about death. This is about something macabre in that sense, right? So this is a very fascinating cover of Macbeth. This one you see, there is a chess piece, okay? The king's piece out there, but there is blood on it. This denotes the kingdom, but there is blood on it, right? So this also, and this you see, again, the sword, which is again soaked in blood. The sword with which, murders take place, King Duncan is killed. So you see, this again indicates that blood is an extremely integral part of the plot of the play Macbeth. I hope even with the help of these two covers, you have managed to understand what the play is going to be all about. Okay. मैं यहाँ पे फालतू का this kind of explanation I will give you explanations which will make you interested in literature in that sense, because I believe that even if you are not going to follow this, even if you are not going to ever read Shakespeare after this, if you enjoy the process, it will make it easier for you when you're writing your answers. What's the point of having a huge amount of resentment towards something? If you have taken ISC, you have signed up for reading William Shakespeare, right? And I would think Macbeth is better than Tempest in many ways. So you can consider yourself lucky. This is another piece which I found. Crown, but again, the bloody hand. Okay, now let's come to what this entire play is all about. It was written in 1606. 1606 is when the play was written, and it's one of Shakespeare's most prominent plays, but it is one of the shortest that he wrote. So you can feel happy. Chota hai, lekin bahut intense hai. Okay, ek line ka meaning bahut deep hai yahan pe. It is the shortest tragedy that he wrote among his tragic plays, be it a King Lear or a Hamlet or a Macbeth, all of that. King Lear, I used to have it in MA, Hamlet also in MA, this was in BA. Okay, it is a dramatization of an episode in Scottish history, what happened in Scotland. Okay, now when I say this, it may just interest you to know this, that there used to be a character called Macbeth in real. Okay, in Scottish history, a person called Macbeth actually killed a person called Duncan. But yahan pe King Duncan is shown as an extremely aged kind of a person, as an elderly king, but the person in real who was killed was only 39 years old. So in that sense, there are differences from the real thing which happened in Scotland. Now, more important is that Macbeth, see, Macbeth was very close to the royal family, and all his plays used to be performed before the king's court, right? So James I was the king of England at that time. So this was seen as a tribute to King James the First, right? And James I was also, James the First was also a patron. That is, he was like, the benefactor, the sponsor of Shakespeare's theatre company called the King's Men. Okay. And through this play, this is important. Through this play, he wanted to caution the king against abuse of power and political violence. That political violence can lead to disastrous consequences. That is what Shakespeare wanted to caution King James I through the staging of Macbeth. Okay, that's what he wanted to do. You see yet another cover, hands, and they are bloody hands, right? Now, the play essentially, what does it do? This is an important line which you can use in your answers also. It dramatizes the physical and psychological effects of political ambition. Who is politically ambitious? Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. On those who seek power. They are seeking power, and it makes them do things which they would probably normally not do. Okay, so they are kind of influenced in an extremely negative way by some external forces, about which we will read, in fact, in Act 1 itself. Okay, an interesting point is that why was the play referred to as a Scottish tale? There was a superstition. Okay, there was a superstition that if you use the name Macbeth, it was ominous, it would bring bad luck, except when it is being staged, when people are doing rehearsal, us time pe Macbeth bol sakte the. Otherwise, if you say Macbeth, it will actually bring bad luck. So it was referred to in those times as the Scottish tale. Okay, it is also has a lot of elements of witchcraft, and that's because Shakespeare was aware that King James I was very interested in witchcraft. Okay, so that's why there is the three witches have a very prominent role to play as far as this particular play is concerned. Okay, let's now move to the main characters of the play. I've mentioned 4 characters mainly out here: Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, King Duncan, and Banquo. There are more people, right, like Macduff, but these are the 4 main characters. Macbeth is a very brave Scottish general who is employed in the army of King Duncan. Okay, Banquo is Macbeth's co-general, is another general. Lady Macbeth is the wife of Macbeth, and she's extremely ambitious and extremely ruthless. Okay, and she's the one who actually plots to murder King Duncan after hearing the prophecy made by the witches. The witches have said that Macbeth will become the king. He may have normally become the king, but Lady Macbeth decides to ensure that Macbeth actually becomes the king, and for that she says, kill King Duncan. He is the king of Scotland who is killed by Macbeth on the prodding of Lady Macbeth. So this is what ambition does to normal people. That's what the play is all about. Story bata deta hu. At the beginning of the play, right from Act 1, these are the 3 witches or the 3 weird sisters. I will explain that in great detail. Very fascinating, right, in Act 1, Scene 1, and then later on in Act 1, Scene 3 also, right? These are the 3 witches. So the 3 witches make predictions about Macbeth and Banquo when they meet them in Act 1, Scene 3. They say that Macbeth will be promoted to the Thane of Cawdor, right? That is one step ahead of what he is as a general. And then he will be made the king, he'll become the king of Scotland, right? Which right now is King Duncan. So they make these 2 prophecies. And the third prophecy is that Banquo's descendants, that is his sons, will be kings, but Banquo is not promised any kingdom. Banquo is not going to be made king, but Banquo's sons will become the king. So these are the 3 prophecies that the 3 witches make at the beginning of the play in Act 1 itself. And that sets the tone for what will happen in the rest of the play. King Duncan then names Macbeth as the Thane of Cawdor. That means the first prophecy has come true. The first prophecy comes true, right? Duncan then says that I will meet Macbeth at his castle, right? The Macbeths decide to plot his murder. This is Macbeth, and this is a photograph of yet another play where Macbeth is seen with Lady Macbeth, and you can see the sword or the dagger, long dagger in her hand. Now, so when Duncan decides to meet Macbeth at his castle, Lady Macbeth hears about the prophecy which has been made by the three weird sisters or the three witches, and she promises to help Macbeth become the king of Scotland. Okay, so the Macbeths plot to kill Duncan. They think that only if he is gone, then they can become the king. Because if he dies a natural death, then his son will automatically become the king. One of his sons, like Malcolm, will become the king. So they decide to finish off Duncan and become the king directly. Okay, so he's a little unsure. Macbeth is unsure, but she's kind of prods him, pushes him, eggs him on, right? Macduff, who is a nobleman, another nobleman, who's another prominent character in this play, he discovers Duncan's body after he has been killed by Macbeth. Macbeth kills the guards because he wants to divert attention. Duncan's two sons, including Malcolm, they flee the scene because they fear that they will be blamed for killing the father, which is precisely what happens, right? They are blamed for the murder of King Duncan. This is what happens till Act 2. Okay, what happens in Act 3? It will be good for you to know the story of the entire play because it will help you form your answers much better, right? Macbeth becomes the king of Scotland. He becomes the king of Scotland, but he feels extremely insecure, right? Because the third prophecy, first prophecy has come true, second prophecy has come true, which means the chances of the third prophecy coming true are also there, which is that Banquo's sons will become the next kings, right? So he arranges for Banquo and his son to be killed, right? His son's name is Fleance, to be killed. Banquo is killed, but his son manages to escape, which means that the third prophecy can still come true, right? Macbeth sees Banquo's ghost, and this is one of the most dramatic scenes that Shakespeare has written in this particular play, Macbeth, right? When he sees Banquo's ghost. Okay, and he responds almost like a madman, right? And Lady Macbeth tries to calm down her husband. Macbeth then unleashes terror. Macduff persuades Duncan's son to fight Macbeth because Macbeth realizes that unless he gets Fleance, nothing can be done. He needs to kill so that he remains king forever, right? So he does that, and Macduff goes to Malcolm and persuades him that you need to fight against Macbeth, okay, in order to reclaim your kingdom, your father's kingdom. Lady Macbeth, this is the second prominent scene in this particular play. Lady Macbeth walks in a sleep, her sleepwalking scene as it is called, right? And she eventually kills herself, right? And Macbeth obviously is very sad. This is one of the photographs of Lady Macbeth in her sleepwalk. In the battle, Macbeth is eventually killed and Malcolm becomes the king. Now you will say, Arey, Fleance was supposed to become the king. Fleance is considered to be much younger, and there is that open-ended thing that maybe Fleance will become king at a later point in time. The prophecy was that his descendants will become a king. When, we don't know. So right now at the end of Macbeth, Malcolm is crowned the king. So this is the story of Macbeth. It's going to be extremely interesting, and I can assure you on SWS we will do everything to make it really enjoyable and fun for all you students, all you children out there. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you. Tata. Bye-bye. See you now in the explanation video of Act 1, Scene 1, where we will meet the three witches. Tata, bye-bye.